your dot book. It's going to contain all the information about where you need to be on the field, how long it takes to get there, how to move evenly through space. It's your primary source of information about all drill movement, and it's going to be tied around your body for countless hours this summer. So for you to be successful, your dot book needs to be detailed, it needs to be organized, and it has to last you as long as possible. And because it's such an important part of what we do, we need to go over a few things so that your dot book gets off to the right start. Okay, here's what you want to go out and buy. It's a spiral-bound stack of 50 index cards, and preferably, I'd like you to get the Oxford brand. They are the higher quality ones. The cards are nice and thick, they're really, really sturdy, and they'll last you a while. You can get either this, the 4x6 version, or the smaller 3x5. I really recommend that you go for the larger version, and we'll talk about why a little bit later. You can get them at any office supply store. I think I found both of these at a Staples. Now there's a couple things you want to avoid. First of all, you'll see a lot of these generic brand index card stacks. They look very similar, but the cards on the inside aren't nearly as thick, and this perforation is really weak. So as you can see, it's already starting to tear just after I've flipped it back and forth a few times. These aren't going to last you very long in the sweat and the heat all summer long. So I recommend that you avoid them. Also, you might find these 5-star books that are also spiral bound, and they have these nice sturdy plastic covers, but the inside is filled with regular notebook paper. These won't last you 3 days. The pages are too thin, the pencil's going to rub off, and obviously they tear out way too easily. So let's avoid these as well. And finally, I know some of you were really fond of these in past years, talking to the veterans. These big plastic binders, 2 rings, pretty good quality index cards, but with only 2 rings, it doesn't take much for this to start tearing inward. And then you've got dangling pages hanging out all over the place. And more importantly, I'm often going to ask you in a rehearsal to open to a specific chart in your book and keep it open there so that it's quickly accessible at the spot we're rehearsing in the show. These don't stay open on their own very easily, and for that reason I want to avoid them in 2012. So let's stay away from these as well. Again, you're looking for these, hopefully the Oxford brand spiral bound index cards. They come in stacks of 50, and I would recommend that you get the 4x6 as opposed to the 3x5. Okay, let's talk about how to transfer information from a printed coordinate sheet into your dot book for the very first time. You want to make sure that you're using a mechanical pencil. We don't write in ink because we might need to make a change later on. For instance, we might need to make a quarter step adjustment to a coordinate, and the information needs to be in pencil so you can erase it later and make a small adjustment if necessary. When you start writing in your book for the very first time, you want to make sure the spiral is along the bottom. It's going to be hanging off of your body on your waist or across your chest, kind of like this. And we've got to get the information in the book in such a way that when you open it on your waist and look down at it from above, it's all written right side up. So again, that's why you want the spiral on the bottom of the book. So with the spiral on the bottom, go ahead and open to that front cover. And the first thing you need to do is write your full name. And when you get your drill number also needs to make it to this inside front cover. If we take these up to do a coordinate test, or if you misplace it during the summer, we want to be able to get it back to the right person. So this is really, really important thing to do. I'm a French horn player, so I'm going to be M4 today. And we'll start on the first page. As you transfer the coordinates over, you're going to be putting 4 coordinates per page. So the very first thing you'll do is section off each card into 4 quadrants. And then we need to start transferring our information over. So in each of these 4 quadrants, you're going to put a couple of pieces of information. The set number is going to go in the upper left-hand corner. And then on that first line, you're going to write the left to right portion of your coordinate. On the next line, you'll put the front to back part of the coordinate. On the third line, you're going to leave room for the counts of that phrase. And then we've got all this extra space here. So over on the right is the area where you're going to be kind of sketching out your pathway and then drawing out the left to right distance that you cover and the front to back distance that you cover. We've covered this in the intro to midsets video, so you know that this is a really crucial step in finding a midset, which is why we do that. And with the remaining area down here is where we'll write our midset or other information like a horn move, maybe there's a facing change. All of that extra information should go down here in this extra area. So again, the first thing we're going to do is take our coordinates here, which are written in this long, complicated form, and we're going to transfer them into our dot book in this nice, neat shorthand, trying to take up as little space as possible. So as you can see on each line, I've written my left to right coordinate in shorthand, and I've written the front to back. Now, as you can see, I've left the counts blank, which is what you're also going to do as you write coordinates over. I'm going to give you the counts as we learn each set. So when we get to the rehearsal, you'll have your dot book in hand, you'll be out there with your pencil, and as we learn each set, I'll tell you, we're headed to page 2 is 8 counts. So you'll write that in, we'll rehearse that a couple times. And then as we move on, I'll tell you, set 3 is 6 counts. Set 4 is 12 counts, and you'll kind of write that in as you go along. So you're kind of staying involved with the writing, with the dot book, as we learn the drill. You'll come back later, and as I mentioned, it's really important that you understand kind of these left to right and front to back components of each phrase. So you're going to draw those in, just somewhere over on the right. So as you can see in page 2, as I move from 1 to 2, I cover 4 steps left to right, I cover 9 steps front to back, and that creates this pathway right here. And again, this is just kind of a rough sketch, just helping me think about the move so that I can come back later and figure out what the midset is. So again, moving 4 steps left to right, 9 steps front to back, my midset is 1 inside the 45, 2 in front of the front hash, and I know that's on count 4, right, because this is an 8 count move. I might come back later when we put equipment in our hands, and again, I'm M4, so maybe I have a horns up from 1 to 2 on counts 5 and 6. That information should go in my dot book. And then in page 4, I might have a box lift on count 7, so I'm also going to get that information into my book. I'm not just going to commit it to memory, it's actually documented somewhere. And at this point, you can see there's a ton of information crammed into each of these quadrants, which is why, as I mentioned earlier, I really recommend that instead of getting the 3x5 version of these dot books, you go ahead and pick up the 4x6. And as you can see here, that's the same information as I wrote over here. There's just a lot more space to work. It's more comfortable to write on. I'm not crammed in there in a small space. And I can actually fit more information. As you can see here in set 2, I also hit the 45-yard line on count 6 during this move. And that's probably an important thing that I should write in. I actually didn't have room to put it on my 3x5 sheet, but as you can see here, I've got room to spare. So again, if you're a person who doesn't, maybe you have large handwriting, maybe you have difficulty keeping things neat and organized, you really want to go with the 4x6 spiral dot book, because it's going to give you the space to work a little bit more comfortably. So you're going to be spending all of this time writing in your dot book, sketching out pathways, writing in midsets, keeping it neat and organized. So we want it to last us as long as possible, and yet it's just paper and cardboard, and you're subjecting it to the sun, your sweat, the rain, rolling around in the grass all summer long. So we're going to have to take some extra steps to kind of protect it from the elements. And I want to go over 3 good ways to do that. The first option is to take your dot book and kind of bulletproof it with duct tape. You just kind of cover the outside covers with duct tape. You can protect this middle section with a spiral to keep it from getting rusted and disgusting. And this actually does a pretty good job of keeping out most of the moisture and some of the dirt and grime, just make sure that your name and your drill number are written in big permanent black ink, like a Sharpie, because anything else is going to rub off. Another option is to cover your dot book with a simple plastic bag. It's got holes cut in the corners so I can fit the cord through. And this works okay, especially on rainy days. But as far as regular use, it's kind of awkward to get the bag over your dot book so you can flip it open and look at the coordinates. So this isn't my first choice, but it is pretty effective. One of the better options, if you can find it, are these dot books. They're also from Oxford, but they have these really nice waterproof plastic covers. And sometimes you can still find them metal bound. This is actually the dot book that I used the year that I aged out. And as you can see on the outside, this is all rusted. The shoelace was white once upon a time, and the cover is pretty beat up. But on the inside, the coordinates are all still clearly written. I'm not missing any pages. So these are a really good option if you can find them. I wasn't able to find any in an office supply store this week, but I know you can still get them online. So just look around. And obviously you can combine all three solutions. You could have this plastic covered book covered in duct tape in a plastic bag. Whatever you want to do, you just want to make sure you take some steps to protect it from the abuse that it's going to go through in the summer so that you don't have to rewrite this book 5-6 times in a season. And finally, we need to talk about some different ways to tie this thing around your body. The first and simplest way is just to tie it like you tie your shoelaces. The only disadvantage there is that you're going to have to untie and retie this thing every single time you put it on or take it off. So there's some more efficient ways to do that. This first is to take your cord and tie this kind of double slip knot so that the cord is adjustable and you actually don't have to untie it. This works pretty well, but you're going to have to step into and out of it every single time. Obviously, you can't just unclip it from your body, which is why my favorite solution is this. A similar idea, but I took 2 of these small carabiners that you can find. I think I bought these at Walmart for about $2. Just tied it to one end of the cord, and on the other end, I'm still using a slip knot, so the cord is still adjustable. So you've got this adjustable string. It clips on and off really, really easily. So I think this is probably the most efficient option for the summer. But again, the choice is totally yours.